Okay, welcome everybody. This is my name is Steve Belmonte, and I really appreciate everybody attending this. This is going to be a very packed training seminar on label and report design. Real excited about this because actually the most used feature next to the CAS and presort would be the label design, and then your reporting. So you're going to learn a lot today. And I've been president now for 17 years. AccuZIP has been in existence, and I'd like to also, Kristen McKiernan's with us today again. And let me introduce Kristen. She's a Microsoft Certified System Engineer. She's a graduate of UCLA, and she had specialization in business computing. She also has a master's degree with specialization in technology management. She is our webinar coordinator. She does sales, and she's a technical support engineer. She's been with AccuZIP for 6 years. Okay, well, thank you, Kristen. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and start off. We're going to have 3 poll questions today, and just to see, kind of get a feel for our audience. And this is I'm going to try to keep this, actually, I will keep this to 1 hour. Kristen will let me know when we're running out of time. I hope we can get all of this in. It's pretty packed. So our first poll question, I'd like everybody to go ahead and look at their screens. And this one is, before today, did you know that you could use the AccuZIP6 product to print variable graphics, text, fonts, and messages? Go ahead and take a moment to answer those, and we've just about got everybody in. You guys are very attentive. Appreciate it. Wow, I'm surprised. Actually, we'll be closing the poll here in just about 10 seconds, so go ahead and get your answers in, please. Okay, we're going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And I'm going to show you the results. So more than half of you didn't believe that we could do the variable graphics, or didn't know that the software actually did do that. So we're going to show you today and change your mind. And you can use the software. It's actually very fast at printing variable data, and we're going to show you how to interchange the graphics and good stuff like that. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to hide the results. And we're going to go ahead and get started first on creating a very simple 2-across label template. Okay, so I've already have a database set up, and I'm just going to go ahead and go to recent databases and open up the sample database. This database has already been CAS certified. It's also been run through NCOA and ANK. So we've got 48 months worth of matches. I've already pre-sorted this list as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click on the Print Presort button, which automatically opens the last pre-sort I did for this particular database. And then we're going to go ahead and click Labels. And the Print Settings window appears. Now, with the print settings window, down here in the bottom is your database that is in pre-sort order. So we've done the pre-sort, we've clicked labels. If I double click on this box up here in the upper left, it resizes the field so I can see more of the data. So it does automatic resizing, which is kind of useful. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a 2 across label template, and I'm going to show you how to do that through our brand new user interface. So if we go ahead and click New, it opens up our Print Layout Assistant, and with this it's very simple now to create brand new label templates from scratch. So the first thing you want to do is you want to choose the printer driver that you'll be printing to. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the Canon. And then next I want to choose the label template. So we list here all of the Avery label templates already built in with their dimensions. So as you go through them, as you can see, the height, the number of labels across, all that information changes. The label we want to design today is a 5162 label. It's a typical 2 across label. I'm going to leave all of the defaults for the number of columns, the height, the width of a label, the spacing in between the labels, the top margin, and the left margin. We can adjust those later if for some reason it's shifted left or right or up or down. We can shift the entire image any way we want. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is choose one of the default address blocks that we have inside of AccuZIP. I'm just going to go ahead and add the address block with an endorsement line and a barcode. So what we've done is we've created a similar interface to like a Microsoft Word. So we have our merged fields from our database, which are listed over here on the right side. So once I've added the fields that I want, and this is just our standard fields, I'm going to add additional fields. I'm going to go ahead and click on this A button, which is our font button, to select which font we'd like to use for the label template as our basic default font. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with Calibri Regular 10. Click OK. And I want everything formatted as uppercase, so I'm going to go ahead and check this box. Now, I want to add other elements to the address block. So, like Word, we can type directly into this template. We can also drag and drop fields from our database over here. So the first thing I want to do is scroll down to my presort fields. So these are all of the different presort fields that were created automatically for us during the presort. The first field I want to add is the sequence numbers. So I just simply drag it over to endorsement and release my mouse. So now the sequence number will print before the endorsement. And then I want to add the tray mark. Simply drag it, release, drag it, release. And then between the endorsement and the tray mark, I want to have 10 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I also want to add current resident below first and last. So I'm just going to click my mouse after last, press return, and type current resident. That's how simple it is. All I need to do now is click preview. And we have a 2 across template ready to go, ready to print. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now, so I don't have to set this template up each time I want to create a new one, this was my preferred format. So what I'm going to do is under default address block, I'm going to choose my address block. I'm going to select it. And because it's something new that we've modified, it's prompting us, telling us that this current layout is going to be my new layout. It's going to be called under my address block. So the next time I come back to this window, I can very easily select that, and all of this information will appear on my next label template. So if I design a postcard, or if I design a 3 across template, or a 4 across template for a dot matrix, it doesn't matter. This is the general information that I want, so it saves it under that name. I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And now I'm going to go ahead and click save, so I can save this as a template that can be used in the print settings window. I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. We'll just call it 5162 my label. There we go. Label.lbx. And click Save. So now my label template appears here. Pretty simple. So now we have a 2-across label template that I can preview from this area if I want, and I can go ahead and print it. Now what I want to do is I want to follow the same steps to create another template to print on a direct imprint printer. So I'm going to go ahead and click New again. The template comes up. I'm going to select a different printer driver. I'm going to choose the Envelope Imager 3. That's my driver that drives the direct imprint printer that prints directly onto, let's say, postcards or envelopes at high speed. The next thing I'm going to do is choose which template I like. So naturally I don't want to go to a 2-across. I'm going to scroll to the top, and the very first one is direct imprint. So I'm going to choose direct imprint, and by default it comes up as 1 column. The height of the envelope or the print area, this is the maximum print area, is 3 inches. So when you're using AccuZIP, since the printer can't bleed off the edge, you have to allow a minimum of 0.05 inches less than the maximum print area. Otherwise, you're going to get a detail band too tall. So for example, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the defaults, and if you need to adjust them, for example, if your printer only has a 1.5 inch print area, well then you would adjust this to 1.45. Okay, so remember it's 0.05. So this is a 3-inch spray area, so I'm going to go 0.295 as my height. The width, the maximum width for this printer is 13 inches. And I can tab through this. I don't want the top margin or the left margin. We'll leave those at 0. And then I'm going to come here and choose my address block. That was the one that was created previously. So we're using the same address block. I'm going to go ahead and choose fonts, and then I can choose any TrueType font or printer font and click OK. I'm going to print in all uppercase, so as you can see it saved all of these settings, including the font settings. And then I'm going to go ahead and preview the template so you can see it. Now, if we want to print a sample and then go ahead and move it, we can do that as well. So here we have an indent of 4 inches. So let's say we need to move it to the left right now because we did a test print. We want to shift it a little to the left. We can use this interface to do the same. So I can change this to 2.0, and then I can go ahead and preview that again. And you can see the address block slid to the left to the 2-inch mark. So I'm going to go ahead and close this preview, and I'm going to save this template, and we're going to go ahead and give this template a name. We're going to call it My Postcard Template, and click Save. Again, it appears under here. So my next step is I'm going to show you how you can begin printing from a specific location. So basically we have this template. We can preview it again if we want. Okay? Now let's say you're printing your postcards and for some reason the printer jams or something misfed, or you need to begin printing from a specific location in your database. Very easy to do. All you do is come down here in the bottom where it says Look In. It's similar to the browse window that you see in AccuZIP. So you click the down arrow. You choose the field that you want to search on. So since I've been printing my pieces, I'm going to go ahead and choose address so I can search on the address. And one of the questions from the audience, and there was actually several, can each field on the label template use different fonts? Absolutely yes. And we can go into the advanced setting, which we're going to describe later, and show you exactly how to do that. We're also going to add variable graphics, font styles, attributes, and all that good stuff. Right now we're just starting off with the basics, and then we're going to get right into the meat. And actually, if you're an experienced AccuZIP user and you've done label templates, you've worked with the advanced settings, you're actually going to learn a lot today, because there's many things I'm going to show you that even the advanced users may not even know. So down here I choose address, and then I press my tab key, and now I'm in the find area. So what I want to do is I want to search for the last successfully printed address. And in this case, I'm going to search for 3401. And notice as I'm typing, it went right down to that record. Now, if you notice at the top here, AccuZIP automatically told us that that is record number 1385. Well, that record printed successfully, so I want to begin printing from the very next record. So what I can do is just take my mouse and I can click on it, and that's record number 1386. And if I want to begin printing from right there and print the rest of my database, all I need to do is click rest. So what that's going to do is it's going to print from 3413 Pine Avenue, Susan Cook, to the rest of your database. Notice how the view also in the database limited it to only those records. So now if I hit preview or print to preview it, we have Susan Cook as the first address, and then it goes on from there. Now I'm going to close the preview again. I'm going to select all and watch the view below change. So now we're looking at all of our records, so we can preview and print right from there. Now what I want to show you is the ability of AccuZIP to add variable color, conditional printing, and I want to show you how to set up so the software prints the endorsement line only on the top piece or when the mark changes. So the first thing I want to show you is I'm going to scroll through here. I'm going to scroll over to the right a little bit, and I want to scroll down, and I want to show you that some of these records, you notice, have a move effective date. Now here's a common use. I'm going to show you a common use for conditional printing. So we're going to scroll down a little bit, and notice this record. This person moved in 2006 in July. Now because the A and K field contains a 77, this move was more than 18 months ago. So because of the A and K, we let you know that they moved, but we do not provide the new address from 19 to 48 months. If they move within an 18-month period, well, then you'll have the new address. And because you can run unlimited number of records through our licensed NCOA link service, once you process the list once and you've isolated those A and K records, then they'll never be older than 18 months. But right now, I have several records in here that are 19 to 48 months, so I know for a fact that this person no longer lives at this address. So it would benefit me none to actually put his name on the mailing piece. Instead, I would, if I want to mail to that address, I'm going to change it to current resident. All of the other names are fine because we know they're there, because we ran this through NCOA, and if they had been matched, then we would have shown the move. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and edit the label template. Let me go ahead and close this. Actually, I want to modify the 5162, which, remember that template we created, which was 2 across. Click Edit. So now we're in the advanced setting. Here we can control the font color, the font style of each individual component. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and isolate the current resident here, and I'm going to make the font red. So I'm going to choose my font for color and turn it red. Now I'm going to double click on current resident, And notice the expression. It's in quotes. So anything you want to print that's static, that you want to print on every single piece, you put it in quotes. Otherwise, in the expression, you simply put the field name and it will change for every single record. Okay, so now that I've double clicked on that, now I'm going to go ahead and go to print when. And down here it says print only when the expression is true. So I'm going to go ahead and say an exclamation point, which means not, empty, A-N-K. So what I've done here is I've said, look in the A&K field, which is that field that contains the 77, and when it's not empty, that means it contains a value, I want you to print current resident. So I can copy this syntax because you know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to double click on the name field by double clicking on it. Notice that it has the trimming the first and the last. Now I'm going to click print when again. And for this one, it's going to be only it's only going to print when the A&K field is empty. That means that there's no move from 19 months to 48 months. That means that the person is actually at that address. So I'm going to click OK. And now we're going to go ahead and preview by right-clicking on the template. So I just take my mouse and right-click, and then I left-click on Print Preview. And on page 24, I've clicked the Go To Page button, and I'm typing in the value 24 to go to page 24. Notice that record number 323, they were an A&K move. So now instead of putting the person that no longer lives there on the mail piece, because naturally if you receive mail with someone else's name on it, you're going to throw it away, most likely, we put the word current resident. Also, we don't make the person that lives there feel like you don't care. Can you imagine if you put Brad's name on it, and then right below Brad's name you put or current resident? So by utilizing AccuZIP and our unlimited access to NCOA, you get the moves prior to mailing them. Then you have a lot better idea about the address and the person or the business at that address than you did prior, or if you didn't use an NCOA process. So this is very valuable. The only reason I made current resident in red was so it stood out, so we could easily find it in this database. So let's say you go ahead and print the labels and you discovered that the labels are printing too low. So all of them are down or shifted down too low. So you need to raise them all up. So you need to shift this entire thing up. Let me go ahead and close the template. Close the preview, I mean. This page header here controls the up and down shifting of the entire addresses that are printing on the sheet. So if I double click on the band, it comes up and gives me the exact height. So if it's printing too low, then I would reduce this to raise it up. So from 0.8, I can maybe go to 0.5. You can adjust it to 1/100th of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then right-click again and choose Print Preview. Notice how it shifted up to 1/2 inch from the top. If I click OK again, double-click, I can go back. Click OK, Preview, and now it shifts back down. Now I'm going to show you how to shift records to the left or to the right, the whole sheet. So we're in our template. All you need to do at this point is choose File, Page Setup. Here you can control the width of your label, which was already established in that interface we were before. You can also control the left margin, and this, so we just simply press Tab through here. And if we need to shift it to the right, we would increase the left margin. If we need to shift it to the left, we would decrease it. So I can simply type the value in here and click OK. and preview. Okay. So let me go ahead and close the preview and close the template. And I'm going to go ahead and save the changes that I've made. And now we're back to the print settings window. So all we've learned right now is how to create both a 2 across label template and a template that would print directly to your printer. Like, for example, we just set one up for the Imager 3. So you can apply those same techniques to print virtually anything, a 4 across, a 1 across, whatever you want in any dimensions, because we have all of the Avery formats already defaulted for you. So what we're going to do is ask our next poll question. So everybody get ready, look at your screen, and give me just a moment. We're going to get our next question up. Alrighty. Here we go. Everybody watch their screen, and we're going to open the polling now. This is a very intriguing question. AccuZIP right now can create a PDF document of all of your reports and labels. Do any of you have the need to also create and output files for other formats? For example, soon we will release a version that will support output for HTML, JPEG, TIFF, XMS, XAML, etc. So we have quite a few different formats that you'll just simply select along with PDF. So for example, you can create a website where AccuZIP could print all the postal reports to your website, and your customers could go there and see the reports. With Microsoft's new XAML, which uses their Silverlight, you can make interactive stuff, so it's very, very cool. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close the polling here in just a few moments. Let's see here, give me a moment here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the poll, and we're going to show the results. Okay, very good, surprising. I'll go ahead and look at the results, and now we're going to move on and click hide. And okay, now we're going to move on to creating a sample postcard, 4-up. So the first thing I'm going to do is click New. Again, we come to this very familiar interface. We're going to go ahead and select the printer driver we want to use. Now for this template, I'm printing 4-up postcards. So I'm going to choose a 4x6 size, but I'm going to change the number of columns to 2. Since we're going to print on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, that's kind of what I want to print on, I'm going to print a 4x2 inch tall card, and the width, I'm going to go ahead and, since we're going to 8.5 by 11, we're going to go ahead and make the width 5.5. I'm going to make my top margin 0 and my left margin 0, and then I'm going to choose my address block. That's the same address block we previously made. For the top indent, I want the address to start at 1.5 inches from the top of the postcard and 1.5 inches in from the left of the postcard. My font's already established. We did that prior. And I'm going to go everything uppercase. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save my settings right now so I can go into the advanced settings. So I'm going to call this, we've chosen my address block. I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. We're going to call it My Postcard 4-up. That means we're printing 4 postcards on a sheet. I'm going to go ahead and edit it so I can get into the advanced settings. The first thing I'm going to do, because the default orientation is portrait, is I'm going to change the orientation by choosing File, Page Setup. I'm going to click Page Setup, and in here I'm going to change the orientation to Landscape. I'm going to click OK, click OK, and now I'm going to preview under right-click and choose Print Preview. And now I can see that I have 4 postcards on my sheet. Now, we had some people ask about north-south printing, and that's actually on our agenda. We'll be talking about that next. Because what north-south printing does, as you can see here, if I flip through this, you see this upper left card? You see how it's going record number 5, then record number 9, then 13? Well, naturally, see it's 17 over here and 18 to the left. Naturally, the whole idea about printing 4-up postcards is to be able to cut them, stack them, and put them in the tray. So you don't want to have to collate them. So we're going to get into that later. So now that I know that this template works, I'm going to go ahead and close the template. I'm going to save my changes. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to create an 8-up template to print on an 11 by 17 sheet. So now every time the sheet runs through the printer, if you have a printer that prints, let's say, 30 pages a minute, now I'm getting 240 postcards a minute. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of this template, and I'm going to call it 8-up. And then I'm going to edit this template. The only adjustment I'm going to make is to the paper size. So I'm going to, and the paper orientation. So I'm going Page Setup. Remember, I took the exact same template. We've made a copy of it, so we're limiting the amount of work we need to do. I'm going right to Page Setup, and instead of letter size, I'm printing to 11 by 17, and I'm choosing Portrait. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because, remember, the postcard is 4 1/4 approximately by 5 1/2. So with 5 1/2, we're going to get 2 postcards from left to right, and with 4 1/4, we're going to get exactly 4 postcards on the sheet going up and down. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go ahead and right-click and choose Print Preview. And there we go. We now have 8 postcards on an 11 by 17 sheet. Now we get to the north-south. So naturally, this is all fine and dandy to print 8 postcards on a sheet, but it's not going to be too cool when we have to collate them. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to close the label template and click Yes. So basically, after you get finished pre-sorting, I've already got my label template set up. I'm ready to go. All I have to do is have the software prepare the file in north-south orders. So like I said, when you stack the paper and cut it, you just simply take the left stack and put it in tray 1. Take the next stack and put the balance in tray 1 and the next one in tray 2. However it works out. But they're all completely in order. Works out very nicely. So what I want to do now from the same window, the Print Settings window, instead of outputting to a label format, I'm going to output to a disk file. I'm going to click Continue, and now our export window pops up. The only selection I'm going to make is print order. Down here, I'm going to choose North-South 8. I'm going to output to an AccuZIP6 database. So basically, it's taking my pre-sorted database, and it's going to rearrange all the records so they print properly on an 8-up sheet of paper. So now I click Export, and then I'm going to go ahead and replace this north-south file here. And it outputted 2,048 records. I'll click OK. Now I simply open the database and print it. So let's go ahead and close the label template. I'll close the print presort, and I'm just simply going to pull down File to open Database. Select my North-South 8 database, click Open. Now I'm going to click our print to just print the labels. Remember, I'm not going to re-presort it. It's taken the pre-sorted file, and now I've generated a north-south order. So I just simply go print labels. Now this file is in north-south order. So if I go over to the far right, I can see the sequence number now is record 1. And then when you get down 8 records, you see how the sequence record number is record 2. So the record 1 and record 2 are printing in the upper left portion of the card. So now we go ahead and go back to output format label. Now we can preview it. Now your 8-up template, as you'll notice when I flip through the records, see it's record 1, 2, 3, 4 in the upper left corner. Okay, let me take a drink here, folks. This is all very exciting, and actually, if you think about what we've done up till now, very simple. Go ahead and click Close. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kick it up a notch, like Emeril Lagasse would say. We're going to start doing some really cool variable data printing. Okay? We're going to incorporate pictures, text, and font styles. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to add variable data to a postcard. I'm also going to show you, I'm going to set up a postcard to print variable maps. So what I did is I created from Google or Google Maps, I created some maps of some different stores. And I'm linking those maps to the store ID. So this list I brought in right here for the customer and I pre-sorted, I brought in a list from 4 different stores. So 4 different, let's say, pizza places provided me with lists. So I wanted to consolidate them all together, and as I imported them, I associated them with their own store ID. The store IDs range from 100 to 103. Okay? Then what I did, let me go ahead and close this, close the north-south. Database. What I did was, the way you do the variable data is I've created some additional databases that store this variable data. So the first database I'm going to open is the reps database. So inside of here, I have a database of my sales reps by territory. Okay? So what I'm going to do in the main database back here is I'm going to use the state abbreviation to tie together the sales rep. Okay? So as the postcards are printing, when state of California comes up, well, let's try, we don't have California in here. When the state of Illinois comes up, John's going to print on the postcard his information and his email address. I also have another database with maps. So basically, store number 100 is going to refer to this JPEG file that resides on my hard disk. So here, I went to Google Map. I went ahead and created all the store locations, zoomed in as much as I could, and I saved each map location under the store number. So these maps are going to change in real time as we print. So what I've done is I've created a database with the paths to each one of those and then the store number. Like I just created a fictitious store numbers associated with the store. And again, you can add as much information as you want that ties together with this ID. You can associate as many different databases as you want. I'm only using 2 databases, one for the reps, one for the maps. You can begin to think, if you start thinking out of the box, how powerful this can be. So in summary, we have 3 databases. We have the customer database, which is the one we're going to mail to, right? And then we have 2 other databases that we're going to link to when we're mailing. Now, it's very important when we link to a database that we have a common field. In this case, in the Maps database, it's the ID field. It's very, very important that we sort or order the database based on that ID. So all you need to do is pull down your sort menu down to user defined. you can click Create, and you want to create an index or a key on the ID field. Click Display. That's it. So we've opened the database, we've associated the key, we've created an index on it. That one's done. We can leave it opened. Now we come to the reps database, and this key, the key field, is going to be the state field. So we want to pull down Sort to User Defined. We can choose the state field and display that. So now it's displaying in state order, and the important thing is that there's an index that exists for that database on that key field. Now we just simply open any database that we have those values, like this database has the ID and we have state abbreviations, and then we go ahead and pre-sort it for postal discounts, and up pops our print pre-sort window. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and click Labels, and I'm going to make a copy of this 8-up template because I'm going to start adding graphics. So I'm going to click Copy. I'm going to call it 8-up Graphics. So now I have a brand new copy of the template, and now I'm going to click Edit. Here we go. All right, here we go. So now the first thing I want to do is I want to add variable data to the label template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, first of all, we're naturally going to move this address block out of this location. So the way you do that is you see my mouse up here. I'm going to go ahead and click my mouse outside of the box area and drag it so the marquee is touching the lines I want to move. So when I release my mouse, now it's as if when we move it, it's one object. So I can use my arrow keys on my keyboard to move them left or right, or I can click and drag them into position where I want them to appear. Let's say you accidentally misalign the fields. Let's say they were like this. We have some very cool alignment tools that bring them right back into position. So the first thing you would do is you would highlight the fields that you want, release your mouse, and I want to go ahead and get the barcode in that as well. And now up here, you see we have Align Left, we have Align Right, Align Top, and so forth. I'm going to click Align Left, so I don't have to fool with it. I know that they're exact now. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the kerning is, see how the lines are far apart? They're different spacing. So I'm going to choose under Format, the vertical spacing, I'm going to make it equal. So now all the lines are equal. So but they're a little too spaced out for me. So I'm going to highlight just the address lines. Again, you click, hold your mouse so it highlights all of the lines, release your mouse, choose vertical spacing. Now I'm going to choose decrease. So proportionally, it decreases it. I'm going to do it 2 times. And there we go. So by using the interface, we very easily made sure all the lines are lined up and they're exactly spaced correctly. So now we're going to go ahead and begin adding variable text. Now the first rule that I always like our customers to do would be to choose your default font. That's the font you're going to use generally throughout the entire postcard printing process. So I'm going to pull down the report menu down to default font. So every new object that I add to this template would have used Courier New Regular, but now I'm going to change it to Calibri Regular 10. So every time I add a box or a text box or any text objects, they're going to be defaulting to that font. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead, we have our tools up at the top. Your A tool, you're probably very familiar with this, PageMaker, CorelDRAW, that allows you to type text, static text, that'll print on every single postcard. The AB tool will allow us to add a field, so that's the one we want. So I'm going to go ahead and just anywhere on my screen, I'm going to drag, click, drag, release. That creates a box and it pops up the field property. In this window, we can add fields together, so we can add first name and last name, for example. But in our case, what we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on this little expression button, and it gives me a list of all of the fields in my database here, as you see. So what I want to do is I want to draw this name from the reps database. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to grab the rep's first name. I just simply double click. And in this case, actually, before I add that, we'll go ahead and do the rep's name. And then there's a trick. If I type a semicolon, that implies a new line. That's a little trick. So when you type a semicolon after a field or text, that will signify that the next item after that will print on a new line. Then I double click on email. Then I click OK and click OK. So now that I know I'm going to have 2 lines, I better make this 2 lines tall. So you see the little marquees around it. I just click it and drag it so it's 2 lines tall. Then I want the rep information to print up here. If I preview the template by clicking preview, notice that the rep's name from the reps database prints right there. We'll go ahead and go back. Now I'm going to add information from the maps database. So the first thing I want to do is click on the AB tool, and I want to add the store number, the store phone number. So I draw a little box, up pops the expression, I click on the expression button, I select the maps table, and I double click on phone. So I want the phone number from the maps table. I click OK, I click OK, and the phone number will print right there. Now what I'm going to do also is I'm going to add, if I double click on it, I also would like to add kind of a title for what this is. So I'm going to put in quotes. Remember the quotes print static text. I'm going to say phone, colon, space, quote, plus. So what this does now is it prints the word phone and a space, and then it'll print the phone number. So it describes what that field is. I'll click OK. And if I preview this now, you can see we're getting a little closer. So right now we're grabbing information from 3 different databases: the customer database, the maps database, and the reps database. Click OK. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the map. So up here we have a box tool, a round tool, draws circles. We have an OLE tool. This allows us to link pictures, grab JPEGs, other pictures that are supported in here too. So I'm going to go ahead again and just click and drag right there, release, and now my picture control comes up. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose expression or variable, because remember it's variable data that we're doing. I'm going to click on the control source browse button, and now I'm going to choose the maps database and the path. So basically it's going to look in the maps database at the full path that I put in there and grab that map and put it in this box. So now once it grabs it, our maps could be different sizes. So that's what this control does. This allows you to scale the picture that's coming in and retain its shape. So no matter how big the picture is, and all the pictures can be different sizes, the software will automatically scale it and retain its shape. I go ahead and click OK. And now if I preview the template, now we're starting to add a little life into the label, into the postcard. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Close. Okay, now I want to show you how to add another one. We're going to take the AB tool again. I'm going to draw a box, and now I'm going to take the ID field right from the main database, ID. I can just simply type in the field name and click OK. And some of the things I want to show you here is very cool. If you go to the Style tab, you can make the background image of this field opaque, like let's say you wanted to make it black with inverted white type, or transparent. So if you wanted to make the type red or green or black and you wanted it to appear as if it was part of the image, you would choose transparent. Then I can go ahead and click on the font browser and then go ahead and choose bold, because I'm going to put this image over the map. And then I'm going to click OK. So think about doing variable data, and you have, you want to be really customized. You can start adding this like logos on generic objects and stuff like that. A second here. You can really get creative. So now I'm going to grab this box, I'm going to move it onto the map image, and I'm going to bump it down, and I want that to print right there. So now when I preview it, notice that the store number prints directly onto the map. And you notice it's transparent, so you don't see any white images around it. Now remember, we're just showing you here how to print postcards. You can print full color 11 by 17 beautiful images, and then start overlaying text and objects and having them look at multiple database sources and bringing all of that variable data in to one document. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is close the template. Now I want you to notice something interesting here. Notice that the maps are all the same. Notice that they're not changing as we're scrolling through. Now the reason is because we have to initiate a search that we, as it's printing the postcards, it needs to search those other databases to pull up that data. Now it's very simple to do. All you do, and we're going to start with the reps, you only have to do one of the fields. So for example, on the reps database, only one of the objects on the form that reference the reps database do we have to do this to. And I'll double click on it. I'm going to click print when, and down here print only when expression is true. Remember we did that earlier when we wanted the A and K information to print. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to use a new function called seek. So we want this to seek, it's going to seek the reps database, but what's the key in the reps database? Remember, it's the state field. So we're keying off the ST field, which is the state value in our main database. The second parameter is the database you're searching, which in this case is the reps database. That's all there is to it. When this value is true, that means it did find the value, it will print that person's name. Otherwise it won't. We'll click OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on the map, and I could either do the map or I could do the map's phone number, but I'm going to double click on the map. I'm going to click print when, and here I'm going to do the seek again, but this time we're seeking on the ID. Remember, the store ID is our key field for searching the maps table. Comma, and then we're searching the maps table, right? And click OK. Now when we go to preview, voila. Look at that. All the maps change, all the people's information change, and now if I go to page 246, you can see dramatically how everything is changing. So as of course, Russell is in this territory in Florida. Brian has this territory in Ohio, but the store locations here for that store number 100. See, 101 over here on the right is associated with this store number and that phone number. So the maps are changing as the document is printing. Pretty slick. Now it's kind of weird because I don't hear anybody talking, so I'm hoping you're liking this. We're going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to do one more thing to this particular template. All right, we're running out of time. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I'm not to the reports yet, but I'm going to explain that. Just give me a moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an indicia. So I'm going to click the box tool, and then all I have to do is draw a box. So I'm making a box about 1.25 inches wide and about 1 inch tall. I'm releasing my mouse. Then I'm going to click my A tool, and I'm going to click and begin typing. Let's try that again. There we go. So now I'm going to type my indicia information. So I'm going to type in non-profit org, U.S. postage, paid. Let's try that. Paid. And then we'll put Templeton, California, permit number 1. All right, so now that I've typed the text, I can click on my object tool, I can select the text, and now I can go under and I can choose like the font style, whether I want to center it. Let me go ahead and save my changes. I haven't, see if there's something behind the screen. Give me a second here. I must have clicked out of the range, so I'm hoping that this information has been saved. Let me go ahead and move this object in here. We can also highlight the object and then use our centering tools to center it. And then I can go ahead and preview. And it'll take a second. I believe let me go ahead and get this screen refreshed. Hopefully all your screens are fine. My screen's going kind of batty over here. Give me 2 seconds, folks. Yeah, Kristen, it's coming close to the time, and I'm going to have to quit out of here for just a moment. Give me a moment, folks. Now, the nice thing about the label designer that we've been working with, the report designer is the same. In other words, when you design labels, you work with labels, it's exactly the same as working with reports. So the report designer and the label designer are the same. Let me go ahead and show my screen again here. There we go. Sorry, folks. Back to this. Okay. So what we ended up doing was we generated a postcard. We added variable data to it, and then we can go off and print it in north-south order, and all of the information on the template will change. So what I was thinking, Kristen, let me ask you a question here. If we decided to go more than an hour, for those who wanted to stay for the report design, because what we're going to do in the report is create count reports, summary totals, does the webinar continue or does it end? It does end after hour. Okay. So what I will do, we're going to have this streaming. I think we're almost out of time, right, Kristen? Yeah. I was thinking that if anybody would like to stay, because we try to limit them to 1 hour, I will go ahead and show you how to create reports. Now the report template and the label template are the same, but we're going to be doing different techniques when we design a report than what we were doing in the labels. So if you would like to stay, please do. For those of you who are going to leave, I just want you to know that at any time you need technical support, I wanted to make sure that I can direct you to this website, AccuZIP6.com. You click support, and here you get free live chat support, 15-minute guaranteed emails and faxes. We also have iSight support where we can connect to your computer. Very important also is that on our support page, you have a forum here, the AccuZIP forum, where thousands of people come into and communicate every day. So you can come right into here. You can click on delivery point validation. You can say instructions on speeding up validation, and you can go right in here and get step-by-step information on how to speed up validation so it's blazing fast. You can get up to 1,500 to 2,000 records a second on some machines that are set up this way. Okay, but there's a lot of valuable information on our postal website, so I encourage you all to go there and use our support because we're here to help you. When you call, we always pick up the phone and say hello. So for those of that are going to stay, what I'd like to do, Kristen, is I would like to put up another poll question if we could. You're okay with that? And then we'll get into the report printing. It looks like my screen, what I've done for this session is I've actually made my screen resolution really, really high, or really low, I mean. So I'm having trouble seeing the poll question. So let me go ahead and see if I can get to the next poll question. I might not be able to, Kristen, because I can't grab the bar. Oh, there we go. We got it. I'm going to pull it over here. All righty. All right. So for those of you who are going to stay, here's our next poll question, and Yes, that's very important. Now the report designer by no means is boring. This is going to be some good stuff. I think you'll learn some stuff here, and I'm going to stay. We try to limit these to an hour, but man, I prepared for this thing, and I knew I had too much material to go over today, but I'm going to stick it through. Excellent. Yeah, by the way, this is our biggest response for a webinar yet, and we have additional webinars coming up. And before you guys leave, those of you who are going to leave, if I go back to our website at AccuZIP.com, on our website, if you scroll down to the bottom, we have on the left side webinars, and we have a full list of all the different webinars that we do, that we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the year. We have AccuZIP Thinking Out of the Box. So go here to AccuZIP.com/webinars, and you can see the rest of the webinars for the remainder of the year. So let's go ahead and open the poll. Okay, scripting and the script monitor. This will be another webinar. I just want to know if you guys knew that we even had a scripting feature. Now the scripting feature will allow you to do virtually everything in AccuZIP without ever touching your mouse. You can set it up to run completely unattended. It's very beneficial, and features like this and other products cost thousands of dollars. And I just want to know how many of you have used our scripting. If you haven't, then you need to attend the scripting webinar, because especially if you have repeat business or if you're doing your own lists. If you're doing your own lists, especially if you're doing repeat business and you got customers that come back to you every month or every 6 months or whatever, very beneficial, because you can set these guys up and you just click one button. Or if you use our script monitor, you don't have to click any buttons. It will monitor an unlimited number of hot folders for you, and as those files drop in, which can be dropped in by your users throughout the United States, as they drop into their folders, the software will begin processing them through CAS, through DPV, LaxLink, NCOA, pre-sorting them, printing all the documentation, and that's where we came back to that outputting to HTML, because if we did that, then your customer could get their reports and their pre-sorts and their clean data back 24/7, and you would know that they ran it because you can create logs. So I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now, and I'm blown away. Well, that tells me something, that we're not doing a good job of letting you know the features that we have in AccuZIP. So we're going to start doing a better job of communicating with you of all the new features. The software AccuZIP is very, very feature rich. There's a lot of features inside of the AccuZIP product that you get free, part of the product, and where others charge a lot of money for. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the results. Thank you all for participating in the poll. Okay, so now we're going to get on to creating reports. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have a different database I want to use. And this database was a database that I created from AccuZIP with our simplified address list creator. So basically, by choosing Create Simplified Address List, I can type in a zip code or a range of zip codes, and I can have the software build a simplified address list. And that's kind of what I did here. Simplified address list, you mail to 100% of carrier route, and it doesn't require any addresses. So here we're mailing to the postal customer, and this is the perfect database to use for the application and the reports we're going to generate right now. So not to get too complicated, the first report we're going to generate is a count on state. Now, I want to start there. Some of you experienced people may know how to do that, but then as we go on, we'll start understanding there's a lot of things that you may not know that you're going to learn today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a count on state, a count on city within state, and then a count on zip code within city within state. So it's a 3-level report. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and pull down the File menu down to Print and choose Report. Now, AccuZIP already has many, many canned reports. We have the count on zip code. We have all these other reports. We have some fancier reports, the enhanced carrier route reports, enhanced CAS reports that prints your CAS results. So I'm going to go ahead and preview this one just to show you. This is a report that's already inside of AccuZIP. It just gives you a simple count by zip code and then a cumulative total. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. You can also create as many reports as you want. You have the report engine here to play with, and where we're going to start is I'm going to click New, create a new report, and that, give me a second here, Kristen, there we go. Okay, so now we have the report designer up, and we have 3 bands. I want to explain these bands before we continue. We have the header band, which prints once per page, the detail band, which prints once per record, and then the footer band that prints once per page, but on the bottom. So everything you learned in the designing labels, you can apply here, because you still have your A tool, your AB tool, your color, your OLE control. So everything you did there, you can actually use your label templates in the report designer or vice versa. One of the main differences between the two is that when you save a report, it has a .frx extension, and when you save a label, it has a .lbx extension. So to create a count on state report, the first thing I want to do is, remember, start by pulling down report and setting your default font. Now the font I'm going to set up is the same one we used before, Calibri, regular 10. Now since we're creating a count report, I don't want to see any of the detail. So this detail band I can either drag all the way up to suppress it, or I can double click on it and enter 0 for the height in the general tab. So I just simply double clicked on the detail band and I was able to enter 0 for the height. I click OK, and now that suppresses the detail band because we're not going to use it. The next thing I want to do is I want to create groups. So I'm going to pull down report to data grouping. When we create counts on fields, it's very important that we create groups. We identify them as groups, so we're not printing the detail of them, but we're telling it that we want to count on these specific groups. So I'm going to add the fields that we're going to use as our count fields. So the very first field, and you always want to work from the top down. So the state field is our main count field. So I'm going to type in the state field name, and I have all the list of field names here. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to add the city, because we're going to do count by city within the state. I'm going to click OK. And then I want to do zip code. But I don't want to do the entire zip. So if I typed in zip, it's going to give me the zip +4. So I only want to look at the left portion of the zip code and only the first 5 characters. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to click OK again. So now the report has many bands. We have group headers and group footers. Now remember, the group header, unlike the page header, the group header prints once per group. The group footer prints once per group. And that's where we're going to get our totals, is in the footer. So what I'm going to do first is double click on the footer for the state, and by double clicking on it, I can enter in the height. And I'm going to create a height of this band of 0.5 inches. Now I can also drag it. So if I want to make it larger or smaller, I can drag it. So I'm going to double click on it again, reset it to 0.5. Now I'm going to click the AB tool. Remember, the AB tool is always used to add a field. And I'm just going to draw a box, and it pops up our expression. So I'm going to type in our expression as ST, which is our state field. I'm also going to click on the Format tab, because I want, whenever it prints the state, I want it to always appear in uppercase. I'm also going to click on the Print When tab, because I don't want the state abbreviation to repeat itself. So I'm going to click No. But I do want it to reprint as the first band of a new page, when the group changes, when the state abbreviation changes, and when the band content overflows to a brand new page. And click OK. So now we have our state field. If we did nothing else but preview, as you can see, we have one New York and one California. So we'll go ahead and close this. Now I want the count value. How many records are in New York? How many records are in California? So what you do is you simply select the state field and make a copy of it. All right? And we'll drag it over here. And we're going to make the box larger because this box is going to hold a number. So now I double click on the state field. I'm going to click on the Format tab because I want this to be treated as a number. I also want it to be formatted as a number. And if it's larger than 1,000, I want to insert a comma. And again, you can make this number as large as you want. So this is the format expression, and you always use nines when you're formatting a number. If you want to format a decimal number, you do that, and then you do 0.9. If you want it to be formatted as a dollar, you can put a $sign here, just like that. So you can format these as you want. In this case, it's an integer number. It has no decimal. I'm formatting it like this. And then I'm going to click on the Print When tab because I do want to print repeated values. Let's say the count is the same for two different states, like they had the exact same count. I don't want it to print a blank. And then the last step is the Calculate tab. I want to calculate a count, and I want it to reset when the group state changes. I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to preview the report again. Now later we're going to kick it up another notch and we're going to add graphics and color. So right now we just have a very simple report that all it does is give us a count on state. We're going to close this. Now we're going to enhance this report and give us a count on cities within the state. So I know this is basic to some of you, but to others it'll get more unbasic, I guess, more not complicated, but more useful. So the first thing I want to do is, since I want counts on cities, is I want to expand the city footer. Now I'm going to teach you a little trick. Since we've already set up all of the attributes, whether we want it to print repeated value and whether it's a text value or a number value, we've already set that up in the state boxes, right? So it doesn't make any sense for us to do that work again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight both of these values. I'm going to make a copy of them and move them up into the city area. Right here. And then I'm going to reduce the city footer so that it only prints one line per. And now, since these are going to be totals on states, I'm going to go ahead and move these over to the right because now these are simply going to be totals within the cities. Remember, we're doing total of each city within a state. So this is going to give us the total for that particular state. So I've moved this over. Remember that this value always prints the total for the state, and this prints the actual state name, state abbreviation. So I'm going to expand this field. Okay. I'm going to double click on it, and now I'm going to change it from just printing the state to the word total for, and then quote, and then a plus sign. So we're going to print a static value, and then the state will change. So I'm going to go ahead at this point. I'm going to click. It'll be easier to read. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go over here, and now this is the total for each city. I'm going to move this over here, because remember it's in the city band. And then I'm going to increase the length of this field. Now remember, this is actually going to print the state. So I want to make a copy of this, and I will also want to print the city. So I'm putting this right next to it. And now I just simply double click and change this value to city. So we've already formatted the state box. We already know what it's going to do. It's not going to repeat the values, all that good stuff. So we've basically made a copy of it. We want this one to print the city. And because this is in the city's area, we're going to double click on it. We're going to click calculate. And we're going to count, but we want it to break when the city changes. I'll click OK. Now, even though it says state here, remember we're not printing the state name, we're just simply getting a total count. So as it's going through the thing, whether it counts the state or the city, it's counting each record. So now I'm going to go ahead and preview it. And now by making those very small changes, we now have a state, each city, and each total for each city. And then at the bottom, we have the total for each state. So now to make this report a little more eye-pleasing, I'm going to add lines. So to do that, I'm just going to increase the size of the city footer area. I'm going to highlight the lines. Remember how we did that where you click and then your marquee is touching all the lines? We go ahead and release our mouse, notch down maybe 2 or 3 arrows, and now I'm going to use the arrow tool. You see the arrow tool up here? I'm going to click it. And I'm going to click down here where I want to begin and drag it across, release my mouse. So there is a line right there. So I can fine adjust these things by moving them down slightly. I can move the summary band up. And then if I want to, I can click on this line and I can change the paint color. So I click on background color and I may choose some type of a gray color so it's not right in your face. Then over here for the state totals, I'm going to add a line. So I'm going to move these boxes down. I'm going to use the line tool again. And then I'm going to bump it down a little bit. But this line I'm going to make red. So now when we go to preview, there we go. So the report looks a little bit better. Okay? So we're just building a report. We started from scratch. We've added a little more element into it. Now we're going to add the ability to count on the zip code. Okay? Then we're going to add graphics and all that good stuff. So we're getting there. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and add the zip code. So we want to expand the zip code field right here. Now, I'm going to make a copy of the city, these boxes here, because we already have them formatted. So I'm going to copy and paste them, and then I'm going to move them up into the zip area. There we go. Now I'm going to make a copy of the city box. I think you all are right on the same page. We're going to move it over here, and we're going to do the same thing we did to the other two. We're going to double click on it. And now we're not going to print the city name. We're going to print just the first 5 digits of the zip code here because that's all we want to display. I'm going to click OK. And then this box, the value I'm going to change is the calculate. We're still counting, but we want it to change when the 5-digit zip code changes. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to suppress the group footer for the zip code so it prints 1 line per. Now I'm going to preview. And now our report includes the zip codes within the city, within the state. Now, let's say we wanted the state of New York or each state to page break. That means we wanted New York by itself, then it would page break, and then California would begin on a new page. Very simple to set up. You just simply pull down your report menu down to data grouping. You click on the state group and you tell it that you want it to begin on a brand new page. We click OK. And now when you preview the document, you only have the state of New York. And when we go to the next page, you only have the state of California. Now notice something, that the zip code is not repeating values. So there's zip codes that are crossing over city lines, and notice when the zip code is the same, it's not repeating itself. So what do we have to do? We double click on the zip code, and remember the print when tab? We told it to print repeated values. We said no. Let's click yes. Because we didn't want that to occur for the city and the state, but we do for the zip code. Oh, I'm sorry, it's giving us totals. There we go. Yeah, it's actually giving us totals for Harmony. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set up page numbers. So let's say you wanted to have each page have a page number and a date and time. So what you do is you click on the AB tool again, and down at the bottom in the page footer, remember it prints once per page, I'm going to go ahead and draw a box. And in the expression, I go ahead and click on the browse. And here we have many string functions and logical functions and date functions. In this case, we can print like the character version of a month. So instead of printing 1, it would print January. We can convert dates to strings. And this is the one we want, date time. So that's going to print the date and the time. So I'll go ahead and click OK. Click OK. Now we're going to click the AB tool again, and I'm going to draw another box over here. This is going to hold the page number. So again, we can click the Browse button, and on the page number, it's going to be listed under Variables. So a lot of these commands, you can come right into our chat room and say, hey, I need to add a page number to my template, and we can show you how to do that. But you can also come here. You can print line numbers, page lengths, a whole bunch of good stuff. But I can come here and choose page number. Click OK. Click OK. And then I can preview it. I'm just expanding it a little bit. Preview again. We come down to the bottom. It says page 1. Go to the next page. Page 2. There's our date time stamp as well. All of the reports that you generate can all be output to PDF documents. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. There we go. And actually what I want to do here is I'm printing the state. Okay, good. Go back here. Now we're ready to go ahead and add a 3-inch title band. Now a title band is something we don't have here yet. I'm going to pull down Report down to Optional Bands. And this is just another band that you can print. And it's kind of cool because this Report title band enables you to print like your logo, your website address and stuff, and it just appears on the cover. So you can print like a book, or if you're saddle stitching it or whatever, and every single cover, when you print this particular report, it'll print out a cover sheet for you with the information that you put on that band. So I'm going to go ahead and do a report title band. I'm going to click OK. Remember, the title band prints only once for the entire document. I'm going to go ahead and double click on the title band and make it 3 inches tall. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my OLE tool right here to grab a picture. I'm going to go ahead and draw a box. Just like we did for the maps, I'm going to click Expression and Variable. I'm going to click Control Source. And now I'm going to locate the picture. So in this case, give me a second here, I'm sorry. We're not printing variable, I apologize. We're finding an image file that resides on our hard drive. So I'm going to click Image File and then click my Browse button. Now I'm browsing my computer for the file that I want. And I put all of my logos in here. Here's one logo. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to tell it to scale the content and retain the shape, and I'm going to click OK. Now, if I want, I can resize the image, because every time I resize it, it'll always retain its shape. Now, if I want to center this within the page, you have these alignment tools here to center and center up and down. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on my A tool, and we're almost finished, and I'm going to go ahead and click where I want to begin typing. Before I do that, I'm going to click on my lock tool. This button lock right here will make sure that after I'm finished typing, I can click again and begin typing in another place without reselecting the A tool. So here I'm going to go ahead and type in our address. And then I'm going to use my text tool again, and over here I'm going to print some other contact information. There we go. And our website. Now, if I want the website to be blue, right here, I simply highlight it and make it its own object, like this. Then I can come and make this object any color I want. I can make it blue by clicking on it, selecting the text tool. I can also underline it. And then I can post it right here. So I can highlight this object and move them as one stream, and I can move this object right below the text. I can also reduce the size of this font so it fits more under it, or I can enlarge this one like that. I can fine adjust with my arrows, and there we go. So now this is a title band, and when I print this, it prints once for the entire document. So you'll see here in a moment, there's the title band. Okay, now this is very cool, what I'm about to show you. What I've done is whenever you get a customer, ask them to send you their logo as a JPEG, okay? And then what I've done here is I've created, inside of our folder here, I've created a customers folder, and inside the customers folder, you can put their logo. So for example, in this case, I put this person's logo. I'm going to go ahead and increase the icons right here. It's the burger station. So let's say their customer number is C1234. So all I'm doing is I'm naming the logo the same as the database. Now you can do that, or instead of naming it the same as the database, you could just drop it in their folder with the name of their account number, for example. And our software, the way we're going to set it up now, can be variable and look in whatever database folder that you have open and look for the JPEG in that folder and print it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the title band up slightly, maybe to 2.5 inches, just by dragging it. I want the logo for the customer to always print in the header, so it looks more personalized when he receives it. So what I'm going to do, and this will be the last thing I show you, is I'm going to make the page header band slightly bigger. We're going to go maybe to 1.5 inches. And in here, I'm going to give the report a title. So I'm going to click the A tool. I'm going to click my mouse where I want to begin typing. And then I'm going to type count on state, city, zip, report. Again, I click my pointer tool, I select my object, I can then choose format, and I can choose font, and then I can make this whatever size I want. We'll go to 24 points. So there is the report title. Below the report title, I'm going to put the customer's logo. So I'm going to click on the OLE control, put it right here. Okay, this time I'm going to do an expression. Now the expression is going to be whatever the name of the database, and this is a very cool feature. There's a function called force extension. There's also a function called dbf open close parenthesis. What dbf open close parenthesis does is that holds the full path to wherever the database is stored. Force extension takes whatever extension that database has and it changes the value to this extension, JPEG, so JPG. So what I'm doing is I'm saying my control source, just like I did before when I was bringing in the maps. Remember, we were referring to a field in a database. Now we're telling it to look at the actual database I have opened, and if there's a JPEG in there, I want you to print it right there. So I'm going to highlight this because I also want to do one more thing. If I go to print when, where it says print only when expression is true, I want to wrap that in a function called file, which says, okay, does that file exist? So if that file does not exist, you're not going to get an error. It's just simply going to print nothing. Now the cool thing is right now we're referencing the actual path to the full path of the database. You may want to put, your customer gives you a whole bunch of different databases, but you always store them like I do when I get a database from a customer. I always store the database in a customer folder. So instead of doing DBF, you could use something like just path, just the path. So we have a lot of different functions that you can use that will return just the full path to wherever the database is stored. Then in there, you can look for certain things like maybe the customer number.jpg. Now I'm going to go ahead and scale the content to retain shape. Click OK, and now preview the document. And in just a moment, it's going to preview. There it goes. So now we have the customer's logo that prints in the header. We have our accounts, and we have a beautiful looking report. Now, if we took more time, the report functionality is virtually unlimited. I can tell you that the periodical mailing statement, if any of you have ever printed the periodical mailing statement, it's quite complex. That was all done with a report generator. It actually turns bits off and bits on when, as far as lines when it's printing, and all of it's referring to a table. So the report generator is very, very robust and can do virtually anything you can think of. And this is where our support comes in. You need to let us know and let us help you. If you have special requirements on certain reports, we can help you make a basic template, and then you can take it from there. You should also start slowly by doing what I did, creating a very simple report and then just growing from there. What the main purpose of this webinar was to show you was to help you learn a little more than you started out before you came to the webinar, and to let you know that the capabilities of AccuZIP are there to grow with your business. Okay? So anyways, we really appreciate you sticking around. Actually, we had quite a few people stay. I really appreciate it. Please check for some other webinars. In the future, we're doing throughout 2008. We've got several lined up. So anyways, thank you all for attending. Kristen, do you want to say anything? Yes, thank you. And I'm going to stop recording this webinar.